Now friends, come to this particular part, the amortization of the expenses. Friends, it is a very simple part of the discussion of the business income, and absolutely no complication, little bit of technical things here and there. Friends, under this particular concept, we have this section 35D, DD, DDA, etc. provisions, where those provisions will simply tell you that if this is the expenditure, then you have to amortize over some life. Generally, it is 5 years. That means you have to make it as 5 equal installments, and you have to divide deduction with respect to 5 years. As simple as that. Absolutely very simple. No complication whatsoever. Somewhere some technical points are there that I will bring it to your notice. Okay. Now, first of all, before I go ahead and try some questions on that, you understand this, some of the basic things out of this particular discussion. Section 35D is where assessee being an Indian company or a person other than the company who is resident. Okay. So this particular benefit is applicable to Indian company or other person, but only the resident person. That means non-resident person do not come in this particular category for the purpose of preliminary expenditure as the deduction. You can incur the expenditure before the commencement or after the commencement. That means even if there is a extension of the business, I repeat, even if there is a extension of the business, you will be eligible for the purpose of deduction. Then you have a qualifying list of the expenditure that is already provided here. This is all your qualifying list of expenditure, and you will have to get, that means you will get the deduction 1/5 in the period of 5 years. That means you have to divide 5 equal installments and 5 year, and the first year of the deduction will be the year of commencement, or if it is extension, the year in which the extension has been effected. So that will be the first year, and the next 4 years, total 5 years, and the 5 equal installments you have to take it as. However, friends, under this particular provision, there is a small little limit. That means there is an aggregate cap. That means how much is a maximum qualifying amount. For that, little bit technical things are there under section 35D, and the aggregate amount which is maximum permissible under this particular clause is 5% of the cost of the project, and where assessee is an Indian company. This is one of the little bit of a technical thing. At the option of the company, the capital employed, that means it will be 5% of the capital employed, but this is at the option. A special option has been provided. So if you don't want to go with the cost of the project, then you go with the capital employed. What is cost of the project is also defined here, and what is capital employed is also defined here. So there is no complication as such whatsoever. But for the Indian companies, this particular option has been provided. Now friends, so you have this particular upper cap and the upper limit of the qualifying amount, and you have to divide it 5 equal installment. That's all. So no further technical discussion under this particular provisions. Now 35DD is basically amortization of the expense in case of amalgamation, demerger, etc. kind of situation, where assessee is an Indian company, incurs any expenditure for the purpose of amalgamation or the demerger. Basically, say for example, legal fees, some stamp duty, registrations, all those kind of situations with respect to the amalgamations, where it is incurred, then you have 1/5 of this expenditure. So you have a 5-year amortization. Simple. So no further discussion. Any expenditure on VRS, again we have a 5 equal installments. So basically VRS is a voluntary retirement scheme. So if assessee has incurred any expenditure by making payment to the employees in the scheme of the VRS, voluntary retirement scheme, then you have 1/5, 5 years amortization, finish. No big deal. So these are some basically qualifying kinds of expenditure, and you have to multiply. Okay. Now section 35E is basically for those Indian companies or other persons who are resident, who are in the extraction, production of the minerals, basically the mining companies. For them, friends, there is a little bit extra thing. That means for them the amortization is to be done in a little bit of a different way, and here it says that you will have 1/10 of amortization. That means you will have 10 years equal installment for the purpose of amortization under this particular clause. And here, friends, amortization, the expenditure, that means preliminary expenditure in this particular industry has to be in maximum 4 years immediately preceding the year. That means if you are commencing your business this particular year, maximum 4 years back. There is a time limitation also. So your preliminary expenditure of 4 years back will only be eligible, and ratio for the amortization is 1/10. That means 10 equal installments and the 10 years, as the case may be. Here, friends, there are some extra provisions which I will discuss afterwards. For example, carry forward, set off and kind of situation. So for that carry forward and set off, this is some extra provisions, but that I will discuss afterwards, because carry forward set off for 35E is a little bit of a extra thing, but that I'll just discuss it, or rather let me just take it right now. It is very simple. So if this particular expenditure remains unabsorbed, and if the assessee has to carry forward this particular expenditure, then there is a 10-year time limit. See, normally carry forward set off is 8 years. Business laws, normally it is 8 years. Or in certain situation like depreciation, all that, it is unlimited number of years, something like that. But in this particular 35E expenditure, if it remains unabsorbed and if it has to be carried forward set off, if it has to be carried forward, then here the time limit is 10 years. So this is one of the beautiful point that should be kept in mind from the carry forward set off point of view. Now friends, let us start with some questions, and wherever required we might go into some technical details. Come to this particular page. Very simple question, absolutely no attention required. Within 5 minutes also it will get over. Now, section 35D, question ID number 9. Compute the deduction allowable under section 35D on the basis of the following information submitted to you. Preliminary expenditure incurred 2,40,000. Cost of the project is 40 lakhs. What will be your answer if the above preliminary expense have been incurred by R Limited and the capital employed is 46 lakhs? Okay, so here see that concept of the Indian company. No, Indian company at the option can take the capital employed. That particular thing will come into picture. But in any case, there is a upper cap. Okay, so in the first situation, say this is 40 lakhs. Okay, this particular 40 lakhs multiplied by 5%. Multiplied by 5%. This is going to be your maximum qualifying figure. That means beyond this, you cannot get this particular section 35D amortization. That means excess amount at the moment you have to forget it. That means for that you will not get any advantage for this particular section 35D. Okay, this is your maximum cap, 2 lakhs. And preliminary expenditure actually you have incurred is how much? 2,40,000. So it will be restricted to this. It will be restricted to 2 lakh rupees and 1/5, and over a period of 5 years. Finish. The answer is over. Okay, so let me just start. Question ID number 9. Question ID number 9. Preliminary expense. I'm just solving it just as a matter of formality, but it is very simple, friends. Okay. Actual preliminary expense is 2,40,000. Okay. Maximum qualifying is 5% of the cost of the project. That is 5% of 40 lakhs. That is already given to me. So maximum qualifying is 2 lakhs. And amount of the deduction under section 35D is 1/5 for 5 years. That means in the year in which you have commenced, that will be the first year, or year in which you have extension done, that will be the first year, the next 4 years. Total 5 years, 5 equal installments. So this is going to be your amount of deduction, 40,000. Okay, that is a situation number 1. Now situation number 2, your actual expenditure is 2,40,000. Now you are an Indian company, it is a R Limited. So you have an option. Okay, you have an option. At the option for R Limited, Indian company, you can take the capital employed. So it is going to be 5% of 46, the capital employed that is already given to me. This is at the option, keep that in mind. That means logically you will take this capital employed only when the capital employed is a higher figure. Keep that in mind. Otherwise, you will not go with that particular option. This is one of the message which I wanted to give. It is at the option. Okay. So this is maximum qualifying is going to be in the second situation. 2,30,000. Okay. So how much will be the amount of the reduction? Will again be 1/5 for the period of 5 years. So here it is going to be 46,000 for the period of 5 years. The amount of the reduction. That's all. No big deal whatsoever. Okay. So update your answer if at all you want. Let me go, baby. And you should update the answer, darling. And let me go to the next question where little bit of extra attention is required. And this is in form of an MCQ. The company X, Indian company in India, is engaged in the operation relating to prospecting for or extraction of production of mineral during pre-commencement period of 3 years immediately preceding the previous year, had incurred 4 lakh expense wholly and exclusively on the operation relating to the prospectation of any mineral or a group associated mineral specified in Part A, Part B respectively of the 7th schedule. It has started the commercial production during the previous year. Your options are: the expense will be amortized 1/10 over a period of 10 years, 1/5 for 5 years, 120 for 20 years, and 130 for 30 years. Second MCQ, your options are: if the above expense remain unabsorbed, it shall be carried for 10 years, 8 years, 4 years, and expense unabsorbed, it shall be carried for any number of years. That is our fourth MCQ. And next one, your options are: if the above expense is carried forward, then it shall be set off only against the business income. If the above expenditure is carried forward, then it shall be set off against business income and the house property income. If the above expenditure is carried forward, then it shall be set off against any income under any other head like a depreciation, none of the above. Okay, so here under this section 35E, basically for these mining companies, little bit of extra attention is required. So friends, now let us approach this particular MCQs now. So this particular Indian company engaged in the operation relating to prospecting and all that. Let us check the basic points in that particular provisions. Okay, now let us check it out. 1 second. That way it is very simple. Okay, 35E only, I think that from MCQ point of view can be important, so that I just let me bring it to your notice some of the provisions. Okay, Indian company in this mining business basically, and specific businesses here, mineral group associated with Part A, Part B and all that kind of things. Okay, so in this particular case, during the year you have started a commercial production, and maximum 4 years back you are eligible for the purpose of preliminary expenses. And the question, friends, I think they have given us 3 years, so that is okay. So it is within a period of 3 years, so 4 years is the maximum time frame. That's limitation given. Okay, now here the amortization is to be done for 10 number of years. So I think that the first MCQ I can straight away answer it. Okay, in this particular case, the first MCQ is maximum carry forward set off is 10 years, 1/10 for the period of 10 years. Okay, so that is already answered. Okay, now if it remains unabsorbed, if the above expense remains unabsorbed, that means you cannot utilize, you can carry forward set off maximum for the period of 10 years. And this is one very special feature of this particular section. In fact, this is a very old provisions, and that old modus operandi of the law has remained as it is. So no modifications done since many years. So here it is 10 years carry forward set off. Remember this particular point very carefully, friends. And I will also take you to that particular provisions. Okay. Now here it says, look at this. It shall be carried forward provided amount of installment remains unallowed. It shall be carried forward and added to the installment relating to the previous year. Next, the following: it shall be deemed to be the part of that particular installment. So this is a very unique language. Such language is also seen in the depreciation provision, that it shall be added to the allowance of the subsequent year. That means here the carry forward set off, supposing if it was a earlier year carried forward, it will become as good as the current year expenditure, because it shall be added and deemed to be the allowance of the current previous year. So it shall be deemed to be the part of the installment, and so on and so on. That means similarly you have to keep on doing it from 1 year to the second year to the third year. That means if it remains unabsorbed, whatever was the accumulated figure, that has to be treated similar to the current year expenditure. That means as good as it is a current year expenditure, and therefore the current year expenditure is normally, it's basically going to be a business loss. So this business loss will be eligible for the purpose of a set of like intra-head, inter-head, all those provisions will be applicable. The reason being that it is to be added to the current year allowance. So that is a unique feature. However, it cannot go beyond the period of 10th previous year. That means maximum carry forward set off is only for 10 years. That means the carry forward set off treatment is similar to, because the language which is used here is similar to carry forward set off of the depreciation. It's a very unique feature of this particular proviso, and that is also tested in our question. One second, where is that gone? The third MCQ. Okay, here your options are: if the above expenditure is carried forward, then it shall be set off only against the business income. Now, there is nothing like that, because see, it is in fact as good as a current year allowance. So current year normal business loss, intra-head, inter-head, almost everything gets eligible. However, it can be set off only against business income, house property. No, it is not like that. The normal business loss is eligible for the purpose of set off against any other heads of income. So expenses carried forward, then it shall be set off against any income under any other head like a depreciation. Okay, this is a very good point. It is like a depreciation. Okay, none of the above. No, we should not take that particular none of the above as such. In other words, the treatment is like, here see MCQ also, which I have already said, is like a depreciation. This is a general language which is used by professionals when it comes to the interpretation of this kind of language for the carry forward set. It is like a depreciation. A very good point. So the answer for your MCQ here is going to be C.